Hello, everyone. Many thanks for joining us on today's webinar. It's great to have you on with us. Keelan here from Retail Excellence. Today's webinar is all about how to differentiate yourself online through content. As many of you know, competition has intensified in the last year, and I suppose it's always important to try and stay a step ahead and give yourself a good point of difference, which today's webinar should hopefully help achieve that. So I would like to introduce Lee McDermott and Rob Thomas from Styla, who are with us today as our main presentation, who are going to talk through some of their client initiatives in Ireland here that they're working with, and also across Europe, which is quite interesting just to see what's possibly coming down the track. Following that, we've a great panel discussion with our members, Helena Dingley, e-commerce manager with Pamela Scott. We've Katie McIntyre, social media coordinator, and Paul McGee, e-commerce manager, both from Evolve Clothing, who are doing fantastic things, both of them online, and they'll be with us to share some of their tips and advice later on. So Lee and Rob, we'll bring you on now next. Just give him 1 second. There is Rob.
Hi.
Great. And Lee is coming on there. Super.
Thanks, Keelan.
No problem.
Awesome. Lovely introduction. Thank you very much. And thank you very much for having us on today. I'm Rob Thomas, Senior Partner Manager here at Styla. And Lee, I'll let you introduce yourself while I get the controls up for the presentation.
Yeah, thanks, Rob. Yeah, I'm Lee. I look after sales for Styla and work with a lot of the businesses in UK and Ireland in sort of managing sort of inspirational content.
Awesome. Thanks, Lee. So I thought, without further ado, some of you will be lucky or unlucky enough to have met us before, but those of you who haven't, I thought just to give you a bit of an insight into who Styla are, where we've come from, and where we are going in the Irish e-commerce space. So Styla came into fruition in sort of 2013, 2014 with the launch of a Shoppable magazine product in Germany. We were a small startup who had dreams of allowing content creators the freedom and flexibility to build and design their way when it came to their e-commerce sites. In 2017, we launched a product called CMS, which is Content Management System, which allowed customers to take the magazine and spread that across their whole shop, with the view, again, of making sure that the designers, the creatives in the business and the marketers didn't get fought back with coding or difficult to implement website builds, which stopped their creative dreams becoming reality for their customers. In 2020, we launched into the Irish market and have got some very, very valued and trusted customers that we work very closely with. You can see some of their logos below. And we have a great partner network here in Ireland as well, mainly Retail Excellence, who've obviously been instrumental in helping us get the awareness out of the product and how it works, but some great agencies and other partners as well. Happy to talk about them in more detail offline. So we're here to talk about content. And I think it's really easy to get lost in the ether, especially in e-commerce, of lots of very technical language. And for today, Lee has a deal with me that if I get too technical, he's going to shut me up and stop me. So that's the way we want to do business. And that's the way we try and talk. It's straight to the point and no jargon. So why does content matter? We thought, let's just take ourselves back to basics and actually ask ourselves this question. The way we see it is when a customer comes to a website, they're there to do one or two things. They're there to educate, or they're there to purchase. So the first impressions of your website, your first sort of concierge or the doorman to your business, if you will, that's when you need to capture a customer's attention. And if you invest in content, typically you'll find that's a very successful process. With these good experiences, we're able to drive a positive reaction, which makes the customer buy, educate, like the site, and they're more likely to come back. But we all know customers are fickle creatures. The last year has taught us that their behavior often changes. So one bad experience can lead to a lost customer. And then we could be lining the pockets of our competitors as a result. So if we implement quality on-site content, it's fairly fundamentally understood that we will build revenue. And we've got some examples and data to share with you later. We will create return customers who come back to shop again and again. And by doing so, we create loyal customers, which is what everybody wants. People that come back to the shop, they tell their friends, their loved ones, their family, and they come back and they spend again. So the content funnel, as it were, is going to be the theme of this short presentation. And it's one of capturing awareness, getting consideration, building a decision process, and then hopefully all of those funnel processes have been really nice, the content's been really good, and the customer comes to shop again. But before we go into detail, let's just think back to the old shop front. I can remember as a kid walking up and down the high street, the shops I wanted to go into were the ones that looked the best. Now, this is no different now in my late 20s, trying to shop online and find brands and retailers that I want to shop with. But everyone seems to forget that an online business has to be invested in exactly the same way as this beautiful Dublin shop front. If the site doesn't look well looked after, polished, cleaned, and well organized, it's very difficult to entice people to stay there. So content is the key in this instance to allow customers to see that you care about them, you care about their website, and when they're on the site, you're giving them a reason to complete that decision-making process and convert. So the online world is no different to physical retail. And if you talk with your agencies and tech providers, they will find you the best methods to give you this quality content, this visual stimulation to your customers, which will result in more revenue. And we're going to talk through how that all works. So we've got a couple of top tips from Franz, one of our founders, and I grilled him on this subject this week. And Lee, you might be able to add to this as well. I'm sure you've got some alternatives. But a content blunder we often see in our customer base, and it's an easy trap to fall into. People build their content to allow a search engine optimization. Well, what that means is they want to be higher up a page on Google. But when you're a customer and you get to a site, you see it, it doesn't feel authentic. It doesn't feel real. And I think as customers, we're all pretty savvy to that. So that's one thing we always say to people to avoid. Build a genuine content experience that enforces a customer's exploration of the website. Don't just do something for an algorithm, because people can see through it. And then the other key top tip that we wanted to share with you guys today is investment, time investment or physical investment of resources, whatever is available to you. It doesn't matter if you're throwing £1 million at content or if you're throwing some of your best people at it. Actually, you've got to meet somewhere in the middle. You can throw some really great creatives at a project and it not be delivered. You've got to think about your audience, think about the content you're producing, and then invest the right amount of resources in delivering that project. Just a couple of bits we wanted to share with you this afternoon. So I just wanted to share some data and what we observe in our customer base and some really exciting use cases that Lee's about to show us. So we build something called a shoppable blog, which in essence is a blog that educates a customer on what we sell as a business, but the customer is able to shop, educate, and then they can transact right there and then on the page. No need to go into the website, risk losing the customer. You can convert them right there and then. And we saw 3 times as many customers converting when brands implement this on their sites. Using something called modular content, which we're going to go on to in a minute and define, which is an enhancement of your on-site content, essentially by breaking up long, tiring flows of product lists. And we're going to show you how in a moment. We saw a bounce rate reduction of 28% in 2 months from a luxury good brand. I can't name them, but if you think of porcelain at 100 to 200 euros per plate, you're not too far off the mark. And one of our UK customers, Sweet Squared, saw a 16% increase in average order value and a 6% increase in conversion rate by implementing a blog and a shoppable blog that we help build with them. So before Lee goes into some examples, let's break down the jargon. So Lee, may I ask you please to help define for our audience what these buzzwords mean before we get carried away with ourselves?
Yeah, of course. Thanks, Rob. So within Styla, we use sort of words such as modular content, which is what we call the ability to inject modular sort of content blocks into existing e-commerce pages. For example, sort of video or reinforcement messages or banners to sort of help increase average order values or conversions. Inspirational pages. So this is what we tend to use is a landing page that is shoppable. So rather than sort of just driving people to home pages or product pages from your marketing campaigns, we can create these inspirational, interactive and shoppable pages that sort of convert three times better than when driving them to home pages.
Cool.
And shoppable content sort of blog is like an inspirational hub where we can sort of educate, mix content and commerce, which helps sort of push conversions.
Sounds good. So now we've cleared that up and we've got through the jargon. Thank you very much. How about we show our attendees some examples? But first, before that, let's just go back to our funnel. And before we dive into detail, we're going to show you how content can be built, implemented and scaled using Styla at the 4 stages that we've defined. Now, we all know the world is a lot more complicated than this, and you guys in the audience and girls know far more than we do about this. You guys run these businesses day in, day out. But what we've observed with our customer base in Germany, the UK and the USA is if we address these 4 pillars, these 4 steps to success with quality content, you will see a massive, massive uptick in your customer conversion. So we break them down as the following stages. Awareness, which includes shoppable blogs. Consideration, I'm thinking about a purchase. I know what I want. I might not know exactly, but I'm nearly there. Then we need to see a slightly different type of content at this stage in the buying journey. Then I've made my decision. I've come back to the site perhaps after a little time away. I just need help being pushed slightly over the line. I might know the product, but I might not have decided the color, the shade, whatever it may be. And then how do we actually build this thing called customer loyalty, this elusive thing that we all love and strive for? And we're going to look at a really, really cool German brand who's done this really nicely. I'm going to hand over to Lee now and put myself on mute and have a look at some of the customer examples he's going to share with us. Let me pass over to you, Lee, now.
Okay, so I'm going to go onto some live sites and talk you through some of the examples of how Styla is being used. So let me just do a screen share so you can see my screen. So fingers crossed, you should be able to see the Pamela Scott website on your screens. So I think the frustrations that Styla solves, I think in the past, e-commerce and marketing managers have been frustrated with fixed templates on their website. So if they wanted to do anything a bit more inspirational, they're quite restrictive in what they can do. And if they want to go outside of those fixed templates, they need to go through technical resources, and it can be sort of a kind of a long-winded process. So Styla allows teams to be able to sort of get as creative as they like with a drag and drop editor. And we've been working with Pamela Scott since the beginning of this year. We've got Helena on the call today. So maybe if I invite Helena to maybe just have a chat about how she's been using Styla on her homepage and sort of talk about her experience with it. Are you there, Helena?
Hi, thanks, Lee. Yeah, so we started to use Styla last year, and basically we wanted to refresh our homepage without actually moving e-commerce platform. And what we wanted to do was to replicate our unique selling points now that the stores were closed online. So our unique selling points for us would be our renowned customer service, our depth of products, the amount of products that we carry, and the amount of brands that we carry as well. But we also wanted to inject our social media on our homepage as well, which is very important to us. And so I suppose Styla allowed us to do all of these things. We also, again, going back to the store setting, you know, we offer more than just going in there and picking out your product. There is some customer service as well in terms of talking through the product and seeing what suits the person and all of that. And that's where we wanted to make use of the blog content. So we have a shoppable blog content so people can learn more about the product and of course link directly and purchase the item as well, which works great. And so we're really happy with Styla. It's the best things for me actually, as well as a refresh and looking great for the customer, is that you don't need any graphic design experience. Anyone can go in there in the platform and produce lovely content which is great, for everybody. And also, I suppose, in terms of the after sales, so like, again, if you partner up with a lot of different companies, you know, after sales support might be an extra fee that you may have to pay afterwards, or it's run by a different company or that kind of thing. But we find we can easily reach out to Styla for any queries we might have, or like just more in terms of what more capabilities we can use. So in terms of the blog and the Facebook feed, and I suppose the imagery as well, it really does give a great look to the website.
Great, thanks, Helena. And I suppose with a lot of business owners and e-commerce managers, you're investing a lot of money driving traffic to the actual sites, and I feel it's really important to be able to test and learn what type of layouts, what type of content's going to be helping you guys drive down bounce rates and increase sort of conversions.
Yeah, exactly. Like, we just want to make the website inviting to everybody, so they can clearly see the products. It's clear, it's a great user experience. And I think that's the most important thing from an e-commerce point of view. You need a great user experience. So it ticks the boxes for us in terms of that, and the customers as well can easily see all the different brands and products that we carry, which is great. And the Shoppable blog really is an added extra that I don't see many other people have on their homepage there, and it really is an extra added benefit for the customer.
Cool. Okay, so let me go through and show you some other examples. So I wanted to also show you a brand that we work with out of Berlin. I always struggle to pronounce the actual brand name. I will give it a shot. It's a Wishta. But these guys here are creating these really interactive shoppable elements on their website. So if you come down here, these guys are replicating sort of in-store interactive imagery that can be sort of shoppable. So you can click on these buttons and they can fire up sort of further information around the actual product, and they can also use add straight to basket overlays on these buttons to sort of drive conversions. And to create something like this in Styla literally can be done within sort of minutes, and they're really sort of engaging and sort of helps push conversions from your marketing campaigns. So that's probably user case number one of Styla, is being able to create full pages without limit on your store. The second one is being able to enrich existing pages on your e-commerce store. So a lot of e-commerce managers will be monitoring their Google Analytics, and they'll be sort of identifying drop-off points during the customer journey. KPM Berlin we're doing this, and as you can see, it's a very high-end sort of product that's €1,000 for a butter dish there. These guys were seeing around about a 98% sort of drop-off point. So they wanted to look at ways on how they could educate customers and talk to them about the tradition, the heritage, and what's involved in the creation of the porcelain. So what you're seeing here is a Styla video module being injected into an e-commerce page. And this has helped them sort of drive down sort of abandonment rates by 28%. And then a little bit further down the page, if I click over here, they're also using did you know banners. So educating the customer, talking to them through what's important about the actual brand. I'm actually talking to Helena yesterday about injecting in reinforcement messages into here, so sort of reinforcing the message of free delivery to mainland Europe. So I think a lot of e-commerce managers in the past have relied on exit intents or pop-up technologies to stem the actual abandonment rates, which can be quite intrusive to a customer. So having sort of these sort of messages directly into the actual site are a lot more effective, and also you don't get a sort of a large sort of invoice at the end of the day from a conversion sort of technology provider. So
it's a good way, Lee, as well, isn't it, of driving that sort of brand experience without having to invest further resources. You know, for instance, here, I know that I'm looking at a KPM page because I'm looking at the videos and the imagery that reminds me of the brand itself. So yeah, I think it's a really, really valid point, isn't it? It's not just a case of converting more. Obviously, that's our main aim as an e-commerce site, but the actual collateral that you get of building the brand and building up the imagery, the memorable aspects of the product as well, it adds a depth to it too, doesn't it?
Yeah, most certainly does. And I think moving on, Rob, I think the next step is the shoppable blog element that Styla provides. I think in the past, I think the blog is probably the most neglected part of a website, where a lot of businesses don't see as much value into it as it's normally seen as an SEO sort of element. I think Styla have moved away from that and sort of helping firms create that sort of shoppable, inspirational sort of blog area. And Odlo use this really well. They're sort of a lifestyle sort of outdoor wear brand, and they want to engage with their sort of customers and talk about things that are important to them. So they're talking about sort of things such as sustainability, that's in line with what a lot of their buyers are interested in. And then with Styla, you'd think a lot of these blogs are long-winded sort of in creation. Styla provides a design automation that automatically puts them into these sort of nice look and feels. But when you're in here, you can be sort of talking about, they're talking about the critical sort of cycling base layers. They're talking and inspiring their customers around sort of the base layer. They're talking about the summer base layers and what it does to ride in the heat. But at the same time, you can actually shop in here. So if we've been inspired by the actual content, rather than having to go and search the product or go through multiple clicks to get to there, we can actually add straight to cart and then go through and complete purchases. So it's a real good way of monetizing and using it as a traffic source to drive traffic to basket and increase conversions. And what we find is normally about a 3x increase in conversions when people are driven into these inspirational sort of blog hubs.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I know a couple of people we've spoken to recently in sort of discovery meetings. They've actually had the blog offsite. So all of their SEO spend is almost halved in effectiveness or doubled down because you're having to promote 2 different domains. I think, yeah, that's the one thing I really like about it is the ability to help them out, reducing their costs by moving that domain under one main domain, obviously increasing the amount of traffic you're getting and removing those blockers to purchase, right? I think it's one of those ways that people can come onto a blog and see what they need, educate themselves and purchase, and then they don't have to go through the standard journey. You can greet them at the door and almost pass them the shopping bag, to use a simple analogy. So no, absolutely. And I know Petstop do a great job of that as well.
Yeah, certainly do. Okay, so do you want to take back over, Rob?
Sure.
You're on mute there, Rob.
Sorry.
There you go.
So just to finish up, thank you very much, Lee, for sharing those use cases. Absolutely fantastic. We've obviously looked through the content journey at this stage, and we've kind of understood that all the way through it, we must invest in content to best optimize the customer journey and to ensure that we're converting as many as possible. So all that remains to say is to pass over to Keelan to introduce our panelists.
That's great.
I'll leave it to you, Keelan.
Thanks, Rob and Lee. That was a good presentation. In fairness, plenty of food for thought. I think the key message is, if you're driving traffic, and most members are, through email or through social media, you don't have to just drive them straight to a product page, or, you can introduce a shoppable blog, you can introduce messages through the product feed to make it a bit more interactive and differentiate yourself. So I think, I like those examples. They were great. That's super. So over to our panel discussion. I would like to introduce again, Helena is back with us there. I can't see her. She's there. Super. And we have Katie McIntyre, social media coordinator with Evolve Clothing, and Paul McGee, e-commerce manager with Evolve Clothing as well. So maybe Helena, just maybe bring us up to speed. It's been quite a roller coaster year for everyone in e-commerce, with shops closing and the move online. How has it been for you? How have you coped?
Yeah, thanks, Keelan. So I suppose we are very happy with how online went last year. I suppose it was great that all our loyal customers that shopped in store last year didn't have that opportunity and did shop online. So it was very positive. And of course, we acquired a lot of new customers as well. So it was very positive overall. Of course, with increased online activity, you're always going to have a few challenges. So, for example, increased customer service queries, more returns, maybe people couldn't fit on the product in store. But we met all those challenges with solutions, for example, upgrading systems, the use of more influencers that could showcase the items and show the fit of the item. So all in all, it was positive for online.
Super. That's great. Great to hear, Helena. And Paul, similar question, how are things been involved?
Yeah, I suppose we're in a similar position to Pan with Scott. We were lucky enough that we had the e-commerce site set up well in advance of everything locking down. We've been online for a couple of years now. So we weren't in the unfortunate position that a lot of people were, where they had to build the e-commerce sites, upload all their data and try to get selling. We already had that in position. It was a mental year for e-commerce, the busiest year we've ever had by far. Obviously, there was massive roadblocks in the way as well, with Brexit happening in the middle of it and supply deliveries being cancelled because nobody knew what was happening, or it was a messy year, but luckily it ended up very well for the e-commerce end of things.
Good. That's good to hear. That's good to hear, Paul. Katie, maybe question for you. You're the brains behind the social media strategy. In fairness, you do great things in involving the team. Maybe just talk us through your strategy there and how you do it.
Yeah, well, when it comes to involving the team, it just shows the people behind the brand rather than just showing people products all the time. And I think on social media, it's really important to show the people because people want to see people rather than just products. Yeah, I think as well, it's about creating our own content, using as little to no stock imagery as possible, getting things in the shop around Letterkenny, and we did a photo shoot in the cinema recently, so promoting other local businesses as well, and yeah, just getting as many local faces involved as possible and make it as relatable as possible for our followers. Good.
Yeah, no, it's super. I think it's great. In fairness, definitely something, a great tip there. Helena, maybe just back to you there in terms of implementing some of the great content you're doing there with Styla on the website. How has that been for you, and maybe just talk us through the impact there?
Yeah, so I suppose for us, content is very important because obviously in fashion retail, that it's the most important thing really to sell your product. So we do, as well as, let's say, implementing Styla, we did a lot more initiatives last year to improve our content by means of making it engaging, video content, making sure that the descriptions ran through everything about the product, showing what returns we have, all of that. So it's very easy for the customer. But I suppose as well as the website and the content and making it as clean as possible, we also make sure that the content on our social is very engaging, very fun. At the end of the day, we're an Irish company, so we're going to speak in an Irish direct kind of engaging, fun way, and we continue to do that. And I think I suppose the numbers stand for themselves. We have I think it's 55,000 followers on Instagram and 60,000 on Facebook. So people do enjoy it. They enjoy the content and the engagement of it.
Super. That's great to hear. Good to hear. Paul, maybe back to you. Maybe just talk us through your strategy in terms of the website and in terms of how you keep it up to date and change around the content.
Yeah, well, I suppose when it comes to the e-commerce end of things are a bit different from social. We really have to look at it holistically. So from top down, absolutely anything we put on the website is content. If that's navigation, if that's our unique selling points to the customers, if it's a product description, everything we will take a look at and try to optimize as much as possible. It's also, we have the sort of added benefit that we're currently able to change our messaging depending on the country that the customer is shopping from. So depending on the IP address, so that is a big part of our business as well. Obviously, we don't want to give any Irish customers any UK sort of messaging, and we don't want to give the UK any Irish messaging, or America or anywhere else. So that's a big part of our strategy. As I said previously there, we've kind of changed our content strategy based on what has happened in the previous year. So we had a lot of issues with supplier deliveries through the lockdown and with Brexit. Thankfully, it's all finished now and we're well stocked again, but it was a difficult couple of months around this time last year. So we really narrowed down on getting the customer to the correct product in their size was really what we set our whole content strategy about. So we went about building webs of pages that interconnect based on what the customer might be looking for. It's not only great for UX, but it's also great for SEO as well, because we've got maybe, for instance, Adidas trainers the customer may have been looking for, and then it would be broken down into the sizes on another page, which will lead through, and then you can break it down into the colors in those sizes on another page. So we really kind of we had to go to the real niche of every category to try and get our customers to the right products and the right sizes. One of the big things that we really focus on as well is our USPs. So what our delivery is, if there's going to be a fee involved, which is dependent on obviously spend and what country the customer's in. So that's all individualized depending on where the customer is. But our returns rates, we plaster this sort of stuff on every single page that we can. It'll be at the top banner of every page, and it'll be on every model or product page. It's really kind of hitting the customer over the head over and over again with, this is what we do. And being a small company, I think it's very important to do that, because we don't have the recognition that ASOS does. We're a small independent retailer. Many of the customers that we're getting for the first time may have never heard of us. So we have to immediately put their mind at ease. We're a trustworthy company. It's secure. Here is how long it's going to take. Here is how much it's going to cost. So that's really what our content strategy is based around now for the next 12 months. We're still in that growth phase. So we're not quite well known enough where we can ditch any of that just yet.
They know the McCluskey brothers from Donegal now.
I don't know if somebody in San Francisco knows them too well.
Very good. Very good. Rob, Lee, maybe I'll bring you back in terms of initiatives you're seeing coming down the tracks. What are you seeing possibly as next steps as well?
Sure. Shall I kick off, Lee?
Yeah, please.
I think we're certainly seeing, actually, it's a nice tie between both ladies, actually, Katie and Helen, are saying to do with content, social content. A lot of our brands at the moment are using our Instagram feed to take UCG, user-generated content, and actually then use their customers' images or pictures and videos and actually make them shoppable. So they're almost going full circle. They've done their own perfectly high quality images, and they've put those in certain areas for certain types of customers, but they're also using consumer generated content and saying, well, we can put a tooltip on that. That's the belt. There's 3 friends. You can buy this, you can buy that. Obviously, they have to vet the product images and make sure they're still high quality, but most phones nowadays are all very, very high quality. 5 years ago wouldn't have been possible. So we're seeing a lot of brands do that, and it's almost like a knee-jerk reaction. So customers buy product, customers love brand. Okay, brand loves customer. Let's completely make this a circle. Let's use the content that customers are generating of our products and then promote, their experience as well. We see a lot of customers using merchandising tools. So integrating either with a platform that offers it out of the box, I won't name names, or with an individual segmenting or merchandising platform, and we can embed that into a tested area on the page, and we can test the results of that. It might be that it works particularly well in some areas and less so on others. We're able to profile brands and consumers by intent. So if I'm a bargain basement shopper, I see bargain basement products and I see content that's suitable for my needs. If I'm Lee and I like to buy the cream of the crop, I see a very different experience. And I think it just shows that you can use a standard e-commerce site with a couple of small affordable tweaks, especially for smaller independent businesses, whereas in the past that was only for the big players. It's becoming more accessible. And by doing so, you can tweak your content to capture those individual buyer groups and buyer profiles, make their experience feel curated, and then that enhances your existing brand strategy. I guess those are the two things we're seeing growing and growing. But the most exciting thing is we're seeing them growing in our smaller customers. It's not just the big boys anymore. You know, you mentioned some great ones there, Paul. You know, like the ASOSs of this world, bags of cash, lots of investment into tech. But now we're really excited because the smaller businesses are actually doing more of this. They're being more agile. They can be. They've got less stopping them, and they're seeing great results. So those are the two things I'm excited about going forward into the future, and seeing more of that from our smaller privately owned brands.
Great.
Yeah,
I think.
yeah. To add to that, Rob, I think being able to differentiate content across desktop and mobile is really important, and a lot of the Styla users are testing sort of different journeys based on people visiting from desktop and mobile to sort of push conversions based around that.
Absolutely. I mean, yeah, it's no longer possible just to say that page looks good. We need to test it on different breakpoints, different touch points, making sure that, you know, for instance, my grandmother, who's 88, she shops on her tablet and a phone. She doesn't shop on a desktop, probably for the best because the thing's archaic. But the point stands is that she wants to shop on a mobile because she trusts it. She enjoys that experience. It's easier for her. And if you're not looking at the different ways that customers are seeing, again, the shop front, your advert to the world, your website, you've got to be thinking about those sort of experiences and how they look on different devices. Absolutely key at the moment. Agreed.
Yeah, I think that the key point there is really just starting to build in your unique content onto your product pages and involving those as seen on X kind of images, which I think that's a good point. All right, in fairness. Katie, maybe back to you in terms of what key areas you focusing on next from a social media point of view.
Definitely video, reels, things like that. Like, you will not get many people watching long videos anymore on Instagram or on Facebook. So we're really zoning in on like Instagram reels and stuff, and definitely trying to encourage user generated content, just more lifestyle stuff. I think everyone's over the fake, overly edited photos and stuff, so just making it more relatable and getting our followers involved as much as possible.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think there's been a big shift from kind of big influencer campaigns to little small local, you know, campaigns. That's great. Paul, maybe from the website point of view, the key areas you're focusing on.
Well, I would say the next big step really is, Rob has kind of covered it, but machine learning for content. So my envision is that every website, more or less, in the next few years will be practically Netflix, where everything's going to be completely curated to you based on your past interactions with the website. We have a very small section of it now where we do it, you know, for recommendations based on past purchases and things like that there. But I really do think in the next few years it will be you feed in the content and it'll be presented to the customer, and depending on what the customer has previously done on your site. So I think that's where we're going to go.
Okay, fair play. She's big steps. Helena, maybe areas you're focusing on next.
Yeah, well, I have to agree with Paul there in terms of personalization. That is where we all are heading in the world of e-commerce. And so to increase our personalization and to speak directly to a customer by means of whether it's the segmented emails or you know, different homepage depending on your buying behavior, but that's where we want to go. I suppose also in my own aims, if you like, would be to have more video content on our website. So the moment we pick particular styles to have video content on the product pages, but we'd like to open that out a lot more. And just in terms of our reward system as well, we have a great loyalty system in store, and I suppose to replicate that more online and to reward our loyal customers as well. But just to focus more on the bricks and mortars. So I suppose, as you know, traditionally we are a bricks and mortar company, and we have, you know, our stores are back open again, and we're delighted with that, and we're excited about it. And we know that there's some of our customers that do prefer an in-store setting, so we'll push forward on that as well.
Okay, super. That's good to hear. That's good to hear. Maybe Katie, just to chime back in on the video side of things, is it you know, are you mostly using your own, you know, good phone to shoot all this, or?
Yeah, pretty much using
Great.
my phone. And then if I'm throwing something up on Reels, I'll probably edit it in the Instagram app. And then if we're using it for ads or whatever, I'll use Premiere Pro. But yeah, everything can be done on my phone. It's so
Great.
good, so handy.
Super.
Yeah,
Super.
and the quality's good too. So
Good.
yeah.
And Paul, maybe just to bring you back in there, in fairness, you know, you have a great style guide on the site as well, kind of similar to what Rob and Lee were talking about in terms of Shoppable blog. How was that? How have you find that? Has that helped kind of create a bit more awareness and push people down the funnel?
Yeah, style guide is interesting. It's well, I suppose for anybody that hasn't been on the site, it's basically the blog.
Yeah.
We use it sparingly at the minute. It's one of those things we kind of do for emails, to kind of, for new customers really that don't know us. So it's kind of a way of showing them, look, we know what we're talking about. We're the experts in the field.
Yeah.
We don't use it as much for shopping, although it does have shoppable links and everything in it, but not quite what we had been showing earlier.
Yeah.
We really now focus in on building what we would call custom content pages. So they would be really focused down on a particular brand or a particular category or a particular product, and then kind of building out from that. We find that they convert much better for us than your typical standard blog post. They would be closer to what had been shown on Styla, but not exactly either. Yeah.
Well, I suppose you're involving your team there who, you know, have the knowledge in the shop, and it's just a matter of sharing that online to kind of help differentiate yourself a bit more.
Yeah, I'd say it's nice to have the team so close by. I wouldn't be exactly an expert in fashion myself, so it's good to be able to pick people's brains to get that information out there.
No, it's super. That's super. No, I think that's cool. Rob, Lee, is there anything else you want to maybe add in?
I was about to second that. I'm certainly not an expert in fashion wearing the shirt, but a bet's a bet. So I think really valid points. I think the point, Paul, that you raised about you know, your internal team and how that collective knowledge can be applied is something that we see a lot across a larger group. You know, let's say some of our larger brands, you might have people sitting in different continents. And the last year, it's been different homes or different home offices, and getting that collaborative element still there, sharing those knowledge pieces, sharing ideas, and collaborating creatively, despite all the challenges we face. We've seen some really inspiring stories from our customers. One customer went on maternity leave, for instance, and was able to delegate all their tasks using our frameworks to the wider team, which meant they didn't have to hire a new person. And then she obviously could come back from maternity leave knowing that she had her career ahead of her and everything was good. Another one was where people started using content they'd shot at home to promote the brand, and then added that onto their Styla pages. And it's really exciting to see that despite all the challenges we face, that, you know, content and creative, it's still the leading edge. It's still one of the main fuels, if you will, for these sites, and how all of us can make a difference to the experience that our customers see. So yeah, it's super cool to hear from you experts, and certainly a lot for Lee and I to think about. So thank you so much for that. Really appreciate it.
No problem. Lee, anything you want to add there?
Yeah, no, agree with what Rob was saying there.
Yeah, super. Okay, guys, that's super. I think we can leave it there. Thanks to our super panel, Helena Dingley from Pamela Scott, Paul McGee from Evolve Clothing, Katie McIntyre from Evolve Clothing. Make sure to check out both websites, and feel free to do a bit of shopping while you're there as well. Rob and Lee, many thanks for your presentation. In fairness, it was great just to see what was happening across Europe and what's happening with some of our Irish members as well. And I know you have a few more coming on stream as well, which is good to hear, and definitely plenty of food for thought there as well from the presentation. So that's super, guys. Okay, we'll leave it there. Thanks for tuning in, everyone, and we'll chat to you soon.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks a lot. Cheers. Bye-bye.